The landscape of Christian theology unveils a meticulously structured guide to eternal destinations, a divine roadmap shaped by the actions of individuals and the pervasive influence of celestial forces that test human resolve. Humanity, molded from the earth's fertile soil, carries within its essence an inner capacity for ethical judgment that discerns right from wrong, an emotional connection that fosters compassion, and a rational thought process that seeks understanding, setting it apart from angels, ethereal beings crafted with precision to serve divine will through acts of obedience and worship. The rebellion of a faction of these angels, spearheaded by Satan in a bold challenge to heavenly authority, transformed them into malevolent spirits cast to earth, an upheaval that ignited the creation of hell as an initial state of isolation and spiritual distress, later evolving into the lake of fire as a domain of lasting punishment for those who defy divine grace. This cosmic disruption introduced Sheol as an early resting place where all departed souls once gathered, Purgatory as a purification stage designed to refine those nearing celestial reward, and heaven as the ultimate destination of divine communion, collectively steering the soul's eternal course with purposeful direction. The adversary, Satan, and his followers, awaiting a final judgment that will determine their fate, exert a troubling influence over human conduct, tempting individuals with sin and inviting reflection on the diverse paths to each realm and the inherent fairness embedded within divine design. This malevolent presence raises the challenge of evil, a profound question that probes why such interference persists within a universe governed by an all-powerful deity, with suggestions pointing to purposes tied to moral development through trials, just retribution for the unrepentant, or an unfathomable divine intent that transcends human comprehension. Before the rise of hell as a structured realm, Sheol housed all departed souls in a shadowy state, transitioning to hell or heaven with its advent following the angelic revolt, while Purgatory offers a temporary cleansing process for those whose lives fall short of immediate heavenly entry yet remain within the reach of divine mercy. The lake of fire's ultimate penalty, distinct from hell's current state of separation and discomfort, clarifies the progression of chastisement, marking a decisive escalation in divine justice for the condemned. Human souls, retaining their human form as a testament to their created identity, navigate these diverse domains through a rigorous divine assessment that evaluates their earthly lives, confronting the perpetual interplay of virtue and vice where the disruptive legacy of fallen angels stands in stark contrast to the harmonious purpose of heavenly design. This exploration outlines the surest routes to heaven through unwavering faith and righteousness, the perilous risks leading to hell through persistent sin, the conditional pathways to purgatory for those needing purification, and the historical role of Sheol as a universal resting place, offering a comprehensive guide to navigate these eternal possibilities with unwavering clarity on the boundaries between grace and damnation. The depiction of souls as spirits in purgatory ensures consistency, reflecting their spiritual state during this refining process, a nuance that underscores the continuity of human essence across all afterlife realms. This theological framework, rooted in divine wisdom, asserts the triumph of heavenly intent over earthly temptation, providing a beacon of hope for those who align with divine will, while setting a firm boundary for those who succumb to the influence of fallen forces, affirming the eternal order established by God. Sheol, the pre-hell realm and its path. Sheol emerges as the earliest recognized afterlife destination within Christian theology, a shadowy refuge where every human soul journeyed upon death before the creation of hell, marking the initial chapter of the eternal narrative. Sheol, known as Hades in the New Testament, represents the same shadowy pre-hell realm described in the Old Testament, a linguistic evolution reflecting the transition from Hebrew to Greek scriptures, both terms encapsulating a singular spiritual domain. This realm functioned as a neutral holding ground, devoid of distinct physical form or temporal boundaries, where souls, retaining a subdued human likeness, lingered in a state of separation from divine presence, patiently awaiting the unfolding of a divine plan that would redefine their fates. The path to Sheol was universally accessible, as the mere act of dying granted entry to all individuals without exception, a condition that prevailed from the dawn of humanity through countless generations until the establishment of hell following the angelic rebellion led by Satan, a pivotal event that reshaped the afterlife structure. No specific actions or moral judgments determined entry into Sheol, as death itself served as the sole criterion, with souls existing in the spiritual state free from the immediate consequences of their earthly deeds, whether righteous or sinful. This universal access distinguished Sheol from later realms, offering a resting place where human actions, though capable of sin as seen in early biblical accounts of human frailty, did not yet dictate a heavenly reward or hellish punishment. The transition from Sheol occurred when hell was crafted as a domain for fallen angels, a divine response to their revolt, redirecting Sheol's inhabitants to heaven for those deemed righteous or hell for the unrepentant, based on a retrospective divine review of their earthly lives conducted at the moment of hell's inception. This shift marked a significant evolution, as Sheol's role as a universal abode ceased, rendering it obsolete with the rise of hell, leaving no current mechanism for souls to reach it today, as all now face immediate judgment upon death. The historical certainty of Sheol's occupancy by all deceased underscores a foundational phase in the afterlife's development, where the absence of a bifurcated destiny allowed for a collective spiritual existence, contrasting sharply with the structured dichotomy of heaven and hell that emerged. This period, spanning from creation until the angelic rebellion, reflects a divine patience, giving humanity time to evolve morally before the introduction of eternal consequences. Sheol's obsolescence, concluded with hell's establishment, signifies a deliberate redesign of the afterlife, ensuring that the souls once held in its shadowy depths are now subject to a more precise divine judgment, aligning with the cosmic order established to address sin and rebellion. The consistent portrayal of souls in Sheol, retaining a subdued human likeness, reinforces the continuity of human identity across afterlife transitions, a theme that carries forward into the realms of heaven, hell, and purgatory, where this likeness persists in varied forms. This historical and theological perspective highlights Sheol's unique role as a precursor, its universal accessibility a testament to an early divine intent that paved the way for the more defined eternal destinies that followed. Hell, the path to eternal punishment. Hell emerges as a formidable realm of initial isolation and distress, a spiritual domain reserved for souls denied entry into heaven's eternal communion, a fate secured through a persistent and willful rejection of divine favor. The surest and most direct path to this destiny involves deliberate and unrepented acts of malice, encompassing intentional harm to others, such as violence or betrayal, persistent greed that hoards wealth at others' expense, or outright defiance of moral principles through idolatry or blasphemy, all compounded by a steadfast refusal to seek forgiveness or acknowledge wrongdoing. Humans who embrace such behaviors, swayed but not controlled by the insidious influence of demons roaming earth, face this grim outcome, retaining their human form as souls plunged into a state of anguish and separation from God's presence. Before hell's creation, a universal afterlife existed in Sheol, a shadowy refuge where all deceased resided regardless of their earthly conduct, a condition prevailing from humanity's earliest days until the rebellion of angels under Satan's leadership necessitated a new order. The establishment of hell, following the celestial revolt, marked a pivotal shift, redirecting the flow of souls so that those whose lives reflect unyielding sin transition directly to hell upon death, bypassing the alternative realms of purgatory or heaven. This transition from Sheol, where no immediate judgment distinguished the righteous from the wicked, to a structured afterlife where hell awaits the unrepentant, underscores a divine reordering prompted by the need to address angelic defiance and human sin. The cutoff point that separates purgatory from hell hinges on the severity of these acts and the absence of repentance, with minor transgressions, such as occasional selfishness or petty disputes, allowing for purification in purgatory, while grave, unaddressed wrongs like murder or chronic hatred seal an individual's fate in hell. The presence of demons on earth, permitted by divine will as part of a cosmic test, amplifies this risk by tempting humans toward these destructive paths, their influence evident in historical examples like the corruption of early societies or modern instances of moral decay. Yet, the ultimate decision to enter hell rests with individual choice, a testament to human autonomy that divine justice honors, ensuring that hell becomes the certain end for those who persistently forsake grace. This spiritual state, where souls maintain human form, reflects a divine design that preserves identity even in punishment, contrasting with the glorified transformation in heaven. The historical context of hell's creation, tied to the fall of angels, highlights its original purpose as a containment for rebellious spirits, a purpose expanded to include humans whose actions align with that rebellion. The transition from Sheol, a neutral ground where all awaited divine purpose, to a bifurcated afterlife where hell looms as a consequence, illustrates God's sovereign response to sin, balancing the influence of demons with the opportunity for redemption. This framework affirms that hell's path, though influenced by external forces, remains a product of human will, reinforcing the supremacy of divine justice over the chaos sown by fallen entities, and offering a stark warning to those who choose to reject the path of righteousness. Purgatory, the purification pathway. Purgatory stands as a temporary haven designed for souls destined for heaven, offering a meticulous purification process to cleanse those burdened by minor unrepented sins that fall short of the pristine purity required for celestial entry. The surest way to find oneself in this realm involves leading a life generally aligned with virtuous principles, acts of kindness, honesty, and devotion, yet marred by occasional lapses, such as small acts of selfishness, moments of neglect toward others, or fleeting lapses in prayer, which necessitate a refining journey before ascending to heaven. Individuals who strive to follow divine guidance but stumble into these lesser faults, perhaps overlooking a neighbor's need or harboring a brief grudge, enter this spiritual domain, retaining their human form as souls expressed as spirits undergoing a transformative process, with the duration of their purification determined solely by divine judgment based on the weight and number of these imperfections. This pathway contrasts sharply with heaven's direct acceptance, which rewards those who maintain consistent virtue through daily acts of compassion and unwavering faith, and differs markedly from hell's damnation, a fate avoided by steering clear of severe, unaddressed wrongs like deliberate cruelty or persistent blasphemy. The distinction between purgatory and hell hinges on the gravity and persistence of sin, with a line drawn at the threshold of major, unrepented transgressions, such as intentional harm or outright rejection of divine will, which propel a soul toward hell, while minor flaws, like occasional impatience or minor dishonesty repented in spirit, lead to purgatory's cleansing fire. Once within purgatory, souls cannot descend to hell. Their trajectory remains irrevocably fixed toward heaven, ensuring a hopeful progression rather than a perilous risk of further condemnation, with their spiritual state as souls clearly defined as spirits engaged in a redemptive process. This assurance stems from divine mercy, which views purgatory as a second chance, a preparatory stage where the soul's human likeness is refined, free from the eternal despair of hell. The process involves a spiritual purging, perhaps envisioned as a gentle flame that burns away imperfections, a concept supported by the idea that no soul in purgatory faces the lake of fire's torment, reserved for the unrepentant. This pathway underscores the belief that God's justice tempers punishment with compassion, offering a clear route for those who fall short of perfection yet seek redemption, contrasting with the irreversible descent into hell for those who embrace grave sin without remorse. The journey through purgatory, while temporary, requires patience and trust in divine timing, as the length of purification varies according to the soul's need, determined by a divine calculus beyond human understanding. Examples might include a soul lingering longer due to repeated minor thefts or moving swiftly through for a single act of envy addressed with contrition. This process ensures that no soul is lost to hell from purgatory, reinforcing the theological stance that God's mercy prevails over minor failings, provided the heart remains oriented toward heaven. The contrast with hell's certainty, where unrepented malice seals a soul's fate, highlights purgatory's role as a bridge, a place of hope where the spirit, as an expression of the soul, is prepared for eternal glory. This distinction affirms the superiority of divine grace, which provides a safety net for the imperfect, guiding them toward the ultimate reward while shielding them from the abyss, a testament to the ordered justice that governs the afterlife. Heaven, the path to eternal reward. Heaven emerges as the ultimate reward within Christian theology, a resplendent spiritual realm where souls receive glorified bodies, offering an eternal sanctuary accessible only through a life deeply aligned with divine favor. The surest path to this exalted destination demands consistent acts of compassion, such as aiding the needy or forgiving offenses, honesty in all dealings, and unwavering faith in God's promises, complemented by regular repentance for any shortcomings, such as moments of anger or doubt, to foster a profound connection with divine will. Individuals who embody these virtues, exemplified by those who practice charity, uphold truth, and seek forgiveness through prayer, successfully resist the temptations posed by demonic forces, ascending upon death to heaven. In this realm, they retain human form as souls transformed into glorified bodies, perfectly suited to celestial communion, a state where physical limitations dissolve into spiritual perfection, enabling eternal worship and fellowship with the divine. This journey requires a daily commitment to moral integrity, engaging in reflective prayer to assess one's actions, and actively seeking forgiveness to cleanse minor faults, ensuring a direct and unhindered transition to heaven's glory, a process that mirrors the lives of biblical figures like the repentant thief on the cross. Compared to purgatory, which serves as a temporary haven to address minor lapses through purification, heaven demands a steadfast righteousness that transcends occasional failings, requiring a lifelong dedication to virtuous living that leaves no room for unrepented sin. This contrasts sharply with hell, whose avoidance hinges on rejecting grave sins such as deliberate malice, persistent greed, or outright defiance of moral law, acts that sever the soul from divine grace. The absence of other afterlife realms beyond Sheol, Purgatory, Heaven, and Hell solidifies heaven's status as the sole positive destination, a truth reinforced by the divine order that excludes alternative paths. Achieving this reward involves a life of unwavering devotion, marked by regular participation in communal worship, acts of service to others, and a persistent reliance on grace, which transforms souls into glorified forms capable of enduring the eternal splendor of heaven. This path stands as a testament to the superiority of divine will, where faith and righteous action secure an everlasting peace, free from the distress of hell or the temporary refinement of purgatory, offering a state of joy that fulfills the human purpose of glorifying God. The process of reaching heaven is not merely a passive hope but an active pursuit, requiring deliberate choices that align with divine teachings, such as loving one's neighbor as oneself, as Jesus emphasized, and turning away from the temptations that demons, cast to earth by God, seek to impose. These glorified bodies, distinct from earthly flesh, enable souls to participate in the heavenly chorus, a concept echoed in the vision of the redeemed in Revelation, though rooted here in the exchange's focus on human form retention. The exclusivity of heaven as the ultimate reward underscores its value, achieved only through a life that consistently reflects divine virtues, contrasting with the paths that lead to lesser or punitive realms. This assurance of eternal peace, secured through faith and repentance, stands as a beacon of hope, proving that God's design elevates the faithful above the chaos introduced by fallen angels. The transformation into glorified bodies signifies the culmination of this journey, a state where souls, once burdened by earthly struggles, find complete fulfillment in the presence of the divine, affirming the triumph of righteousness over sin. Conclusion: eternal destiny affirmed. Christian theology constructs a detailed blueprint of afterlife realms, meticulously shaped by the creation of humans and angels, the pervasive influence of fallen spirits, and the enduring challenge of evil within the framework of divine guidance. Humans, drawn from the earth's soil, are endowed with the capacity for moral discernment, emotional connection, and intellectual pursuit, setting them apart as beings crafted to reflect divine glory through acts of worship, service, and community, a purpose disrupted by the temptation from the adversary and his followers on earth. These malevolent entities, cast out after their rebellion, seek to lead humanity toward eternal punishment in hell, a realm that begins as a state of initial distress and evolves into the lake of fire following the final judgment, a transformation that embodies divine retribution for both fallen angels and unrepentant humans. The journey from Sheol, a pre-hell refuge that served as a universal holding ground before hell's creation and has since been rendered obsolete, to hell or heaven, with purgatory as a purification phase, reveals a complex path influenced by personal actions, tested by demonic sway, and guided by divine will. The adversary and his cohort, expelled from heaven due to their prideful defiance, shape human choices with their deceptive influence, a process that continues until the final judgment unites them with the damned in hell's intensified state, where torment reaches its peak without the possibility of annihilation. This reckoning ensures enduring suffering, with humans retaining human form in heaven through refined bodies that radiate divine glory, or in hell as souls enduring distress, a consistency that underscores their created identity across all realms. The fairness concern arises as humans face hell due to the influence of demons, originally cast from heaven, yet this challenge is met with divine compassion, offering salvation through faith, moral living, and repentance, a grace that transforms lives as seen in the redemption of the repentant thief. God's allowance of evil, serving purposes such as moral growth through trials like Job's endurance or just retribution against persistent rebellion, underscores the human duty to resist temptation, affirming the unassailable authority of divine will over the cosmos. The multi-stage afterlife, beginning with Sheol's universal occupancy, progressing through purgatory's cleansing for the imperfectly righteous, and culminating in heaven's eternal reward or hell's just punishment, celebrates the purpose of creation by ensuring accountability for every action. This structure provides a clear route to eternal reward through virtuous conduct, steadfast prayer, and alignment with divine principles, contrasting with the path to damnation marked by unrepented sin and rejection of grace. The transition from Sheol, rendered obsolete since hell's creation and consumed by the lake of fire at the final judgment along with death, to the current order of heaven and hell via purgatory, reflects a divine progression that glorifies God's design. The presence of fallen angels, permitted to tempt yet ultimately defeated, enhances the triumph of divine justice, proving that human allegiance to God's will secures eternal communion, while rejection leads to the rightful consequence of hell's torment, where the lake of fire consumes all remnants of the obsolete Sheol and death, solidifying the victory of good over evil in a divinely structured cosmos.